Hello there everyone, Nubkeks here, and in today's video, I'm going to be walking you through a full Mythic Plus run with the new Shadowflame Prism Legendary for Shadow Priest, and seeing how it goes. The talent build is over here on the left that I went in with. I will come back to this because there's definitely some variation on it. So for example, Misery, there, the level 30 row, this is really specifically for Theater of Pain. I think you could definitely run Searing Nightmare with this build in most other dungeons, but we'll come back to that in a minute, right? Before we go into this, you'll see this is going to be a plus 14 run. I've done Theater of Pain at plus 18. But in the group finder, I don't know, what do you guys find as Shadow Priest? I mostly just play with guildies. But in the group finder, I just got declined from everything. I don't know if that's a normal experience or what. But I was not getting into groups. The plus 14 was the best I could get into here the day I was trying. But let me minimize me as we go into our full set of cooldowns. And let me talk you through what is... I turned off my mic instead of turning off my webcam because I am smart. I am smart. So I noticed there that I actually didn't do the theoretically perfect opener with the Mindbender and the Shadowflame Prism. Let me actually explain what Shadowflame Prism is in case you haven't seen it. This is our legendary, got buffed by 40% in patch 9.0.5, so this week. Massive buff, makes this legendary extremely strong, arguably even, possibly depending on your stat weights, the best single target legendary if you are Night Fae, which is kind of interesting. What it does is whenever your Mindbender is out, or your Shadow Fiend, but you should always be running Mindbender. Whenever you cast Shadow Word Death or Mind Blast, your Mindbender will teleport behind the target that you just Shadow Word Deathed or Mind Blasted, and it will do a cleave attack, hitting up to 5 targets near there for Shadow Flame damage. I think it's Shadow Flame or Shadow, I don't know. And it will, yeah, it just does a bunch of AoE damage, which is pretty damn powerful. As I said, Mindbender is basically essential here. Mindbender, it's a 1 minute cooldown, so every 1 minute you whip out your your Mindbender. He lasts for 15 seconds, and I actually forgot to mention another thing that it does. As you see, if you watch that Mindbender cooldown on the top left of my sort of combat weak chorus there, whenever we do a Mind Blast or a Shadow Word Death, it actually also increases with the legendary the duration of your Mindbender by 1 second, so you can get a good extra chunk of time out of that Mindbender. I mean, our one there lasts about 20 seconds, right? Roughly about 20 seconds. We got an extra 5 or so seconds out of it. That's 5 or so procs of the Shadowflame Prism Legendary. These guys are fairly spread out, but you can see our damage in the bottom right on pull is still pretty decent. It's still okay. It is still okay. So there you go. Kind of cool. The weird thing about this Legendary, or one of the interesting things, is that because it triggers off of Shadow Word Death, it actually makes Shadow Word Death part of your core rotation, right? Whenever Mindbender is up, you actually do want to cast Shadow Word Death. This was the first dungeon I was running the Legendary in, so I was still getting used to it. But generally speaking, the ideal opener, I guess, certainly for a single target, would be to pop your Fae Guardians as a Night Fae, if you're Night Fae, early. Then you want to summon in your Mindbender. You actually want to do a Shadow Word Death and a Mind Blast, and then you want to go into Void Eruption. And another weird thing is that Mind Blast actually jumps massively up in priority when your Mindbender is out as well. So for example, staying at 2 charges of Mind Blast in Void form actually becomes really, really bad. You definitely want to avoid that because you're not getting that cooldown reduction. The Mindbender extension and the Shadowflame Prism procs, which is going to put you really far behind. It's weird. There was one thing that I definitely feel is a bit of a struggle because you end up with a lot of different things that you want to prioritize, is how I would put it. I think coming up to the end of this fight on this boss, for example, we're not going to do Mindbender. We're going to save it. I don't know if this is a mistake. If it was a hierarchy, I definitely just pop it there. Excellent Shadow Crash gets thrown out as the boss teleports and we miss. So I decided to save the Mindbender here. I actually think that was probably a mistake. The cooldown is so short that you're just going to want to fire it off. And as you will see, looking at my cooldowns, I am, again, for the most part, we're not going to be delaying cooldowns crazy much to sync them up. We obviously are going to have our cooldowns synced up on pull like we did here. However, we will, after that point, often be popping our cooldowns pretty much whenever they're available. You don't want to overly delay them, right? Because Mindbender's a 1 minute cooldown. Fey Guardians is a 1.5 minute cooldown. It gives you 20 seconds of cooldown reduction on Void Eruption every time you press it, which again makes Void Eruption a 1 minute 10 cooldown. So these are all super short CDs. Power Infusion is very long at 2 minutes, well, quote unquote, very long at 2 minutes. So you preferably would have that sync up with every second Mindbender, I suppose would be the best thing. But here we go. We're going to come into this ad pack and we're going to put on our Vamp Touch. And I think everyone has their cooldown, so this is going to be kind of a waste. Pop that Mindbender in. I'm actually going straight into Void Eruption, so this stuff is dying fast. Probably a mistake. You can see that it is something of a struggle even, right? Because you're kind of high on insanity. You got to pop your Guardians. You got to cast Void Bolts. You got to stop Mind Blast being on CD. You got to get Devouring Plague up. Press Shadow or Death. It's kind of intense in terms of managing that priority order. We want to be doing Shadow Crashes as well. There goes Shadow Crash. There's a lot of stuff to be pressing. I respect this. This guy went and he didn't even take part in the fight. He just went and grabbed that Necrolord banner in the background. What a champ. What a bro. Thanks for that, friend. Thanks for that. Thank you, thank you. We popped some Vamp Embrace to help with the healing as well. Shadow Priest actually, I think, pretty decent at Theater of Pain. The reason that I went with Misery, by the way, is that you don't do too many really big pulls in Theater of Pain. The mobs are actually quite dangerous. There's a lot of small pulls. As you can see, there's these mini bosses, which are just one mob pulls. So yeah, Searing Nightmare isn't that essential. That being said, you absolutely can run Searing Nightmare with this build. There we go. We actually did it right this time. We summoned in the Mindbender. We did Shadow or Death into Mind Blast and then into Void Eruption. That's pretty much your single target opener into spending our stuff. You can see though, it's still struggling to weave Shadow Crash in. There we go. We get it out there. But again, Shadow Crash generates a chunk of insanity. It's tough, guys. You'll find this tough. Shadow or Death again. There we go. And we got to move out. Get some instant cast spells out as we go. Nice, that was good. And you can see that in the damage meter. Our damage there is pretty good. Right, it's quite solid. We obviously didn't have our Night Fae thing. It's on now, and I didn't have my trinket. It's on now as well, which isn't super ideal, but will help us kill this. Yeah, Prideful, which is going to trigger here. Here's one thing, actually, I really like to do. I probably will do it on this Prideful. I don't remember. But one of the big mistakes that I find a lot of DPS make, I find this as a healer. There we go. Okay, we pop Power Infusion. Perfect. Perfect. This is what I wanted to talk about as something to make a difference in dungeons. Because I know as a healer, definitely from like doing 17s or 18s or whatever, that's the point. I'm playing with people who are very geared, but that's sort of the level where when nobody uses a cooldown on Prideful, you get pretty close to dying. Like, the Prideful will end up at high stacks for long enough that you get pretty close to dying. As you can see here, we're popping all of our CDs. We had those CDs just in the last pack, and they're back on this pack, which is awesome. This pack is very, very scary. Great stun totem from the Shaman. These guys shooting, these crossbow dudes, do a ton of damage. They absolutely do. So that Shaman did a great job. Big shout out to him. Getting the stun totem down, and look at his damage as well. Just absolutely blasting in that AoE. So yeah, great work by the Shaman. Really good. We get a stun on that bolster dude at the end as well. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I was talking about Pridefuls. But yeah, people don't like to use CD because this is what people like to do, right? They go, ooh, when we kill the Prideful mob, he's only one mob. So it's pure single target. Man, that's not all that much damage. And once we kill that Prideful guy, ooh, then we get a nice big damage boost. So we can go do a big AoE pull with our big damage boost and all of our CDs, and we'll do tons of damage and look amazing on the meters. And that's fine, certainly on these lower keys. Like, for example, on this 14, that would be totally fine. Like, we're not going to be really in very much danger at all from a Prideful. The healer's not going to run out of CDs. They're not going to struggle. But like I said, when you start getting up to 17s, 18s, 19s, 20s, higher than that, you're going to start to struggle a lot. You will need to use cooldowns on Prideful to kill it before your healer gets overwhelmed. They only have so much healing. They only have so much mana. You only have so much time on your defensives. When that's all gone, you're going to die. You're just going to die. And the Prideful buff only lasts for 1 minute, so if the healer has to spend absolutely everything healing Prideful, let's say they spend whatever 2 or 3 3-minute cooldowns on a Prideful, they're going to be good for 1 minute after that, but then you're going to have 2 minutes where they have still 2 minutes remaining on their CDs, and you're going to have a tough time. I actually like this by the tank pulling the Prideful up here so we can get onto the boss relatively quickly. I think that's good. So that's a good call right there. Saving Power Infusion here for after the first Blood and Glory, which may be some mistake, to be honest. Maybe I should have popped it. I'm going to save it for CDs, though. This is one of those rare cases where I am saving for CDs. We're obviously going to pop Night Fae thing. You can see my Void Eruption cooldown just went way lower. That's the double cooldown speed that you get with that going on. Actually, that's kind of scary. That banner lived a long time. That could be pretty bad potentially. Obviously, watch out for the Deafening Crash. Does interrupt spell casting, and we get thrown down. Yeah, Shadow Priest, in my opinion, really good single target DPS spec. So I was kind of intending that this guy kill me, but then he wanted me to kill him instead. So we will do that. We will do that. Again, here's the thing. Without our CDs, our damage isn't that high. It's going to take us a little bit of time to kill this guy. There we go. We get him down. I would say that was relatively slow. I don't know. I don't know what the typical thing, the typical time would be. That felt slow to me. Summon in our dude. Mind Blast. Go into Void Eruption. Start spending our Insanity. Get those Mind Blasts cast out as well. Need to cast that Shadow or Death. There it goes. Good. Probably over-prioritized Mind Blast there over Void Bolt. That's probably a mistake. I kind of panicked a bit, honestly, with this build so far. Trying to get those Mind Blasts out on time. So you need to keep Void Bolt going because we're running Hungering Void. You get extra duration on Void form from doing that. Which is kind of important. But yeah. Nice thing with this build as well is you are extra good at doing what I was talking about with Prideful. Because Mindbender's a 1 minute cooldown. Void form is almost 1 minute cooldown as Night Fae. So you get those things popped, right, on the Prideful. You kill the Prideful, you still have 1 minute on the Prideful buff. So they will come back. Man, they need a Scrub Shocker. Using his interrupt. There's a man who wants to win. So I'm not going to use any CDs here. I'm mostly going to conserve resources. We're just going to keep hitting this guy. Turns out that Devouring Plague is a little bit overkill. Took him a long time to kill me. He probably shouldn't have done Devouring Plague, actually, because it does heal, which is a bit scary. Popped Dispersion and cancelled out of it. Was scared. It looked like we were immune, though, when we landed, which is nice. Again, we've got our thing. Our Mindbender's out again. He's doing his cleaving stuff. Here we go. Zav is almost dead. Not going to be worth using Void Form here, I assume. Probably wasn't worth dotting the banner either. That's a little cheeky. That's a little cheeky. A little bit of padding. Definitely didn't need to do that. All right, moving on. All right, 2 bosses down. For me, Gorechop and then Mordretha. They're usually the last 2 bosses you do, and it's actually pretty tough here on Tranical. I think that's pretty tough. And on Storming as well. Storming, Gorechop, yikes. It's a pain in the arse. It is a pain in the arse. But yeah, as you can see, again, looking at our cooldowns, Void Eruption is there, and we're actually only, what, 15? Yeah, 15 seconds off of our Mindbender. This right here, with our talent build, with Misery, this is where Shadow Priest is garbage. It's garbage. We did a good chunk of damage with Void Eruption. I think I popped Void Eruption because I was a little bit scared there. Withering Discharge, I should have kicked that. Oh, I didn't kick it. That was my bad. I have my kick available. That should definitely be on me to participate there. That's definitely a big mistake. But yeah, you're going to be terrible at this. Your ability to do large-scale AoE is basically non-existent, right? It's non-existent with this build without Searing Nightmare. Misery is really good. You know, 2 targets, 2 to 4, I guess, is really good. 5, it's like okay, and then more than 5, it's pretty terrible. And obviously Mindbender is going to do a big chunk of AoE, and Shadow Crash helps do a little bit of damage, but certainly we're not going to compete with the other guys. You can see, for example, right here, I mean, the tank he's handily beating us, and that's after the nerfs to the Vengeance Demon Hunter. Okay, we pulled slightly ahead, but yeah, it's going to be pretty rough. You're not going to be good at this AoE. It's basically going, do I have Mindbender? Okay, he's going to do a lot of AoE damage on up to 5 targets, but more than that, we're going to fall off. That is why I would recommend on other dungeons. Okay, the tank wants to go back there. Cool. We were a bit slow. You could have said it in chat. I pinged the map to help people know. I think everyone had noticed anyway. Yeah, Searing Nightmare, I would highly, highly recommend for other dungeons. Let's talk about talents then a little bit more as well. So on tier 15, I've gone for the Fortress of the Mind. I'm kind of conflicted with this one. I'm personally a fan of Fortress of the Mind. And I kind of feel like it's sort of an even split amongst a lot of players. Are you a fan of Fortress, or do you like the Shadow or Death reset talent? Which one do you like? And obviously you guys can see the synergy. Shadow Word Death resets with this Mindbender, because the Mindbender, he does his big Shadowflame Prism attack every time you Shadow Word Death. So in theory, on paper, with Shadow Word Death resets, ooh, cool, great. I could just keep spamming that out. That's gonna be fantastic. I think the problem that happens in practice is that you want to be using Shadow Word Death basically on cooldown to trigger your Shadowflame Prism, and you therefore cannot guarantee that will actually be hitting someone that is going to die within the 7 seconds to trigger the reset. It's not reliable. So that's sort of the issue that I have with it, right? That's sort of the issue that I have with it. And it also does funnel you a lot of insanity, which, again, actually spending that insanity sort of gets in the way as well. You have to do Devouring Plagues more often instead of doing Mind Blasts, which again doesn't trigger your Shadow Fiend. I don't know. I genuinely don't know which one is better. You can obviously see the synergies either way. I do like the Mind Blast one, especially on Tyrannical. Just having more damage from Mind Flay, having more damage from Mind Blast, and more insanity generation from the two. I think on Tyrannical, I do prefer that. And then arguably, I think you could say, you know what? Although it's a little bit inconsistent to make it happen, possibly the Shadow Word Death reset one is the right choice if you're on Fortified, because you're just going to get those. They're going to be more impactful. It might be the smarter choice. I don't know. It's a tough call, though, I think. I think it's a tough call. Oh, hello. He is trying to snipe me. Scrub Shocker. Jeez. He's got the PV. He's got the interrupts on, he's got the interrupts on Zap. He's got the trying to snipe you out with the Prideful debuff as well. It's pretty spooky. This run's going well so far, though, man. Halfway through. 0 deaths on the board. You are in combat. Thanks, game. No, I'm not. Ya big jerks. Well, we're not participating in this fight for a while. Here we go. All right, excellent. We'll get our dots on. We're good to go. Probably should have kicked that Bone Spear, seeing as everyone else's kicks are on CD. Yeah, missing some kicks here, which I shouldn't. That's not good. Thinking about this build and not paying attention to the stuff that matters probably more. This pack here, this is a nasty pack. On Fortify, this is super nasty. Definitely be careful of this one. We're going to pop our spirits. We're going to throw out our dude. We're going to do our Shadow Word Death. We're going to Mind Blast. We're going to actually go into Void Eruption. Have to Devouring Plague then because we're overcapping. And throw this out. We did pop Desperate Prayer to help out with the healing a little bit. And yeah, we were able to do a good chunk of damage. We'll Master Spell that dot. It looked like the healer was struggling to keep up with that. Been there. This is a nasty pack to heal through. Really, really nasty. Those mobs, the casts that they do a lot of damage. They have to be kicked. If they don't get kicked, you're super screwed. And they also put that dot out, which is a pain. On top of the Soulstorm mag, just absolutely rinses groups. That's a horrible pack on Fortified. Horrible pack. This one is a bit of a pain in the ass. Oh, I think this is where this goes horribly wrong. I think this is hilarious, actually. So, I guess, well, look at this. Calculated, knocked back into the gateway. I completely planned that. Pure skill, ladies and gentlemen. Pure skill. I guess we don't have a decursor. I think, can Shaman decurse? I feel like maybe Shaman can. Obviously, he got killed, though, so he's not here to decurse. Certainly Priest can't, and so I can't decurse, and our Priest Healer can't decurse either. No, sir. What do you... I don't know if I'm a fan of that, you know? I kind of appreciate it with some healers and some DPS. That, you know, all the healers can't dispel everything. So then, like, the DPS can come in and help. It looks like it's only me and the tank left alive, which is hilarious. We're the only the two remaining contestants. And dog's barking. Hopefully that doesn't ruin the video. But yeah, I don't know. As a healer, I find it annoying when I'm in dungeons and it's like, whatever, like, these poison dispels are a nightmare to deal with in, like, Mists of Tyrannicide or something. Or like, oh, hope we got a druid or someone to help out because I can't do it. That stuff does bother me a bit. I guess the benefit is that it's nice when you have a DPS come in. Like, I feel really good as a DPS when I master spell stuff, a Shadow Priest. That feels like I've contributed something meaningful, so I don't know. Poor old Asgard here got knocked off. This is the exciting part of the video where we struggle to fill stuff in. Actually, if you look at the deaths, that's quite funny. 15 seconds, 35, and 44. We lost like 1 to every death wins. One death per death wind. That's kind of funny. That's kind of funny. This mob pack is not as bad. It's still a little bit of a pain. We're going to come in, just lay our stuff down here. Probably, again, pop our CDs. We're really not looking to save any cooldowns here, though. I should have popped Fake Guardians before going into this. Kind of a pain with this Curse. Curse plus the winds, plus the storming. Yeah, I'm glad I popped CDs. This mob pack has turned out to be nastier than I would normally expect it to be. Watch the death winds, watch the curse, everything. Oh, and he's off. He's gone. That was the healer as well. Yeah, so Asgard has been blasted into oblivion as the Pride comes in. And this sort of illustrates what I was saying earlier, where, okay, it doesn't really matter on these lower keys. Like, the Pride isn't bad. It's not bad. You can see, like, it goes up to, what, 20 stacks? It's at 10 stacks, and it's mostly dead already. You know, with the healer dead. It's pretty chill. It's at the higher keys where this thing is a lot more health that it gets spookier. It definitely gets spookier. We popped Vamp Touch to help, or Vampiric Embrace to help us go through this. I just get a bit of extra healing out. I don't have the healing meter on, unfortunately, but it was probably a little bit useful. And then Desperate Prayer. So we're away. The healer DC'd? Oh, maybe the healer DC'd. Oh no, he's here. I think he just got knocked off. I don't think he DC'd. I think he just got knocked off. Luckily, we're right at the shortcut. So we get him through and go into the boss. This is actually kind of bad for us, because we would have had our cooldowns back anyway. I guess we're going to have Power Infusion, so that's nice. But yeah, we would have basically have everything. Oh, his game did DC. Never mind. All right, that is what happened. He has the shortcut. I think we're going to give him the old leap of faith, which saves maybe like 1 second. The 1 second time save. Let's go. Here we go. Give that boy a grip. Look at this, game changer. Whew, wow, wowee. And then we'll speed him in with some power word shields. It's with our body and soul talent. They give us more speed. But yeah, again, like I was saying with this build, I waffle a lot. I jump all over the place. That's my style. Please forgive me, senpai. Please forgive. But yeah, you know, with the talents, Hungering Void, we're still going with that. It's just too good. It's just too good. Like, I know that some people do run Surrender to Madness. I definitely tried it. I definitely tried runs with Surrender to Madness, but I find it's a little bit spicy. The Surrender to Madness, it's a bit spicy. It's a bit spooky. I have definitely died several times on a run with Surrender to Madness, just being off by like 1 second. And like, people didn't mind because it's the start of the expansion. But I think now, this far into the expansion, people are going to be pretty annoyed if you die with Surrender to Madness. I just think it's not a good idea if you're playing, you know, with a pug especially. I just don't think it's a good idea. I think you'd have to really plan it out, and it's not quite as good. Oh, here's something actually that matters for the boss fight. So I could see right there. So there's these 2 patches of grabby hands down that you want to run and get your soul caught in when he does draw soul. But I saw right there that they both went to the same patch, and one of the guys had the debuff, so he's pulsing some AoE damage, which is pretty bad. So I just wanted to make sure that they weren't going to murder each other. So I did drop the Mass Dispel to help out. That's definitely something to watch out for. The healer is only able to dispel one of those. The other one is going to keep doing damage, and it does a lot of damage, so it's pretty spooky. It's a great thing to do as a DPS, even to be watching that. And if you see the healer is struggling, if they're falling behind, be careful. Here's another thing I do like to do, is to pre-position beside these grabby hands so that it's easy to deal with. Especially if you've got melee DPS, right? Because they're going to have to run away from the boss to drop their draw soul. It's very helpful for them if they can just, you know, they can just look and they say, oh, like for example, this warrior guy, he can see I'm near this one. He can run back to the other one. No problem. We're all good. Gonna pop dispersion here, and we actually get knocked out by the tornado. Storming, fun. Probably the worst affix. What did you think's the worst affix? I think storming's the worst one. Not a fan. You know what? It would be okay if it triggered like half as often, but it's quite annoying. All right, we got 2 bosses left. Of course, the last boss, there's no trash before it. One thing you can do, especially with the priest, really nice with priest, you can just Mind Soothe that first ad pack in the dungeon. then you do have to fight the one dude on the big goat horse thing, right? Before the first boss, you do have to fight him, but you can actually leave that initial ad pack up. You can leave that initial ad pack up. We're going to kick one of those and stun the other one because no one else kicked it. That was actually good. If we didn't do anything there, we probably would have wiped with double withering. But yeah, you can actually skip that first pack, and then you can pull that pack and get Prideful into the last boss, because she's pretty tough, right? She is pretty tough. Whoop, there goes one withering. Without fortified and only on a 14, the damage not so bad actually, so we probably could have gotten away with getting hit by the 2. I take it back. We could have lived. We could have lived. But yeah, here we go. Cool. This is one of the great things about Shadow Priest, I have to say, is that you do have those super short cooldowns. I mean, Fire Mage does the same sort of thing but better. Let's be honest. Fire Mage does the same thing but better. They've got really short cooldowns. They've got good single target. They're better at AoE though than Shadow Priest is. But yeah, Shadow Priest, you do have short CDs with this. Like, we've got short CDs. We're getting back to those real quickly. It's not a problem. Here we go. We're gonna pop. Looks like not. Okay, we are gonna pop stuff on this back. I wasn't sure if I was going to or not. Kind of waited a while. Probably could have popped those a bit sooner in this one. Waited a little bit. And we're triggering that. Triggering the Mindbender. Get him going. This is a tough one. This could be worth popping Void Eruption. Looks like I'm going to save it this time. Again, kind of watching this back, I'm like, man, I don't know if there's a point in saving it. Like, I know that the Fire Elemental, he's up right there in front of us and everything. And these mobs aren't too dangerous. I guess if we pull a big pack after this, it could be dangerous, but I don't know. I feel, watching this back right now, I feel like we could have been blasting him. I wonder if I blast him this guy. Yeah, I do blast him this guy. Okay. So we're sort of helping on this. Probably no one else is popping CDs. Maybe the Warrior is, but he's some pretty good damage. But I'd assume most people won't pop CDs on this guy. Single target mob. Again, people like that AoE. They're going in with their AoE builds. So it's nice as the Shadow Priest to bring cooldowns in single target. Now, as you can see, we are saving... we're tanking the tornadoes for the team, guys. We're tanking the tornadoes. We are saving for this AoE pack here to get the Mindbender out. There we go. Drop in that Shadow Crash. There we go. Okay, we're doing this stuff. Look at those stormings. 4 at once. Just what we want to see, ladies and gentlemen. 4 stormings, spinning around, having a great time. And yeah, you can see right there, like, in terms of the damage meter, the damage isn't there, right, for Shadow Priest in this situation. Even with Mindbender, okay, we almost kept up, but, you know, you're not blasting. You're not going to be blasting in a situation like that. You know, 6 or 7 or whatever short-lived ads. With Misery, it's just not happening. It's just not happening. That is where Searing Nightmare becomes much better. And that's why I think I already touched on it, but to make it more explicit, the synergy that this does have with the Mindbender build. Again, with Mindbender, you're triggering the Shadowflame Prism when you Mind Blast and when you Shadow Word Death. So, unlike builds which are, like unlike Talbot Stratagem, where you need Devouring Plague on the target to make your Mind Blast hit harder, unlike like an Auspicious Spirits sort of build, where again, you don't trigger your spirits, you don't trigger those spirits by casting Searing Nightmare. This one, it doesn't matter. You are good, right? By foregoing Devouring Plague, you're not losing any effectiveness on your Mindbender. You're totally good. And again, with Searing Nightmare, you are channeling Mindseer so often, pretty much constantly, that you are going to be triggering those Mind Blast procs a lot more often, the Dark Thoughts procs, and every free Mind Blast that you cast with that is triggering the Mindbender. It's a really, really nice combo. It's a really nice combo. It's good. In fact, it does become extra important, whereas without this talent, you would find yourself in situations maybe more often, like in really big pulls, where you would actually start, you would stop casting Mind Blast pretty early, right? You would stop casting Mind Blast, and you'd just be spamming the Searing Nightmares instead. I believe with Mindbender, probably up to something like 10 targets, you would still prioritize spending those Dark Thoughts. Oh, look at that. That was a little magnetic. We were not as close to the... It pulled us... We did get hit. We absolutely got hit. It did pull us in a little bit. So, that's pretty bad. Don't get hit by this. It's an absolute nightmare for your healer. again, this guy is horrible on storming, right? Because you want to be near the boss so he doesn't start yanking you across the room when he does his stompy thing, right? So it's easy. He doesn't pull you around the place. But fuck me, because you're just dropping all the stormings on top of him. He's horrible. This boss is like deceptively hard, I think. He's harder than he looks. He's definitely harder than he looks. But we're actually pretty decent on this fight. So again, we just slightly sidestep the stomp, move around. Just try to multi-dot these guys with misery, which is quite good. Get some damage out, and we're just spreading that damage around. Whenever they are grouped up with a boss like this was something I was wondering about when I was doing the fight. Was I was just kind of doing Mindbender on CD. Like, for example, right here, I pop Mindbender. I don't know if I should have saved it for these oozing leftover guys. Would that have been the play? I'm actually not sure. So that was something that I was certainly wondering about at the time. Shadow Word Death. There we go. Get the proc. I'm just reducing our CDs. Man, this is a long fight. It's like a 2-minute fight so far. This boss, he goes and he goes and he goes. It's just hard for DPS to keep DPSing when you gotta dodge hooks. And especially when you gotta dodge storming. Yikes. Storming. Again, right here, saving that Void Eruption. I again think this is... I mean, the boss is almost dead. I feel like this is... Because I've been Venthyr Priest for the whole expansion. I feel like that's sort of a Venthyr thing to do. It's a bit of a Venthyr thing to do. Don't need to res him. He'll release up top. We're all good. Get the hook. On we go. On to the final boss. 6 minutes on the clock. Can we make it? We should be able to. MP, we got this, says Asgard. Excellent. That's what I like to hear. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Void Eruption would have been easily back. So we could have popped it. Again, the boss is super low, but probably still worth. Just appreciate and celebrate how short your CD is as a Night Fae Shadowflame Prism Priest. I will do another video, by the way, on Talbotars as well. I've already done a dungeon run as Talbotars with Psychic Link and had some good fun. So I'll show you that maybe in the next day or two, maybe. We'll see. Got a few videos planned at the moment, but that could be a cool comparison. And all right, we're pulling more Dretha. So again, here, it's tyrannical. The boss is going to live quite a while. So yeah, we should definitely be able to get off at least 1 or 2 rotations of our CDs here. Making sure to spend the Mind Blast. Don't be stacked on Mind Blasts. Still trying to Void Bolt on CD where we can. Mind Blast procs. No. Shadow Word Death. Oh, we're going to overcap. You see, right there, you see that? You see where I was watching that rotation, and I could just see it happening because we procced stuff. And it was like, okay, we're going to overcap Insanity, so we really want to Devouring Plague, but we also needed a Shadow Word Death. And we also needed to spend those Mind Blast procs. Man, it's just, you end up in this situation with this build where your priority list, you have about 5 top things to do, top priority, and you can't do them all. You don't have enough GCDs. I would, here's a tip. I would actually recommend that you resim your character as well. I have actually regemmed to haste. Regemmed to haste more so now. So just, I guess, double check it for yourself. I think that was from switching from Venthyr to Night Fae. I obviously gained Mastery from my Soulbind and lost Haste from Naya. So yeah, that actually changed the stat priority a bit. Changed it a bit. So definitely something to consider. So there you go. Actually, you can see that lined up perfectly, even on this relatively lowish tyrannical key, that we were able... This is a nasty overlap, the charge into this. Whoop! And we get hit. Baller. Such a good player, Captain. But yeah, we were able to get our CDs off on pull, and then also off on this as well. So I'm gonna, again, this is something I always do as Shadow Priest. Silence, get a silence on the mob that's furthest away. Get him in on top of the tank. Move that stress. Dark Devastation right on top of this charge. Luckily, it's spun the other way. I'm actually surprised none of us died here. I mean, I almost got myself killed. I think poor old Asgard, his ass was sweating during that fight. But there you go. That was that particular run. 135 Valor in the bank, and I think the ring I used in my Valor video. And yeah, in terms of overall DPS, 5.4k, I mean, it's probably fine. I don't know how geared these guys were. Probably not as geared as, but I felt for a first go with this talent that it was good. It's certainly fun. I think it's pretty good. It feels pretty fun in dungeons. I like it. It feels powerful. And again, the thing I like most about this, again, so if you combine you should also be combining the Mindbender melee with this as well, because you're running Mindbender instead of just having Shadow Fiend. So I would actually include that. I think that's important. Yeah, there you go. In fact, can we rewind slightly to so you can see the DPS breakdown, and also bearing in mind that you're getting a higher Mindbender uptime. So the damage contribution is a bit more than this, I would say. But I think it's a good damage contribution. I do think it's strong. Yeah, I like it. It's good single target, especially if you're Night Fae. It's great in AoE. But yeah, Night Fae Shadow Priest with Shadowflame Prism. It's really good. It's really good. Really short cooldowns. Good AoE. And you do have, like I said, you have a bit of build variety. Misery dungeons, it's great still. It's great in Misery. And then I'm excited to try this with Searing Nightmare as well. I think it could be even stronger. So we'll see. Thank you for watching, everyone. Let me know what you thought. I haven't done a video like this before. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.